45 years ago, these men took up arms against China. These are the forgotten soldiers of India's first guerrilla unit. The fighting was especially intense between the invading communist forces and Chushi Khandruk, a guerrilla force started by a Tibetan businessman named Andruk Gompo Tashi. Meanwhile, the young Dalai Lama was forced to maintain an uneasy alliance with the Chinese until 1959, when the tense roof collapsed over the land of snows. In the early 50s, America was sensing the threat posed by a growing communist influence in the East.
We are united in detesting communist slavery. We know that the cost of freedom is high, but we are determined to preserve our freedom no matter what the cost.
The CIA began to secretly support the Tibetan resistance movement in 1956. By 1959, Chinese troops were marching into Lhasa, Tibet's capital city. In March 1959, the Dalai Lama crossed the treacherous Himalayan mountains into exile after repeated appeals from his people to flee the country. In October 1962, Chinese forces attacked India's northern border, forcing India into an unexpected war.
I could see the Chinese on the Thagla Ridge, and I spoke to my general from there, and he told me to concentrate on the job. We've been told Chinese won't attack. But I said, they're not coming for a picnic. And we've had no experience in mountain warfare. We got orders, throw the Chinese out. They were coming down the hill, firing, and the troops had no possibility of being able to support them. They fired into the bunker. Both my men were killed, riddled with bullets. They jumped in, beat me up with the rifle butts, threw me out, kicked me around.
India was defeated as its army was poorly equipped and was not trained to fight on high altitudes. By late 1962, India and United States had agreed to cooperate on many secret paramilitary programs. The first of these was a guerrilla force consisting of Tibetan refugee recruits in the event of future Chinese hostilities. B.N. Malik, who later became India's first intelligence chief, coordinated with the CIA and the Chushi Khandruk through the Dalai Lama's elder brother Gyalo Thundup. Ratu Nawang, a former commander in the Chushi Khandruk, was given the task to recruit men for the new force. Thousands of Tibetan refugees gathered in the hills of Chakrata, the base of the guerrilla force. The men had only one mission: to fight China and get back their country.
심슈티 카리아서나 맨다시코 지사야 통해시라서나 게밀 징징야시다 게밀 지 카디샤이시 보랑젤 던다지 인삼사.
The Tibetan soldiers were still hoping for an opportunity to strike, but it never came. In 1971, an opportunity to pull the trigger did come for the Tibetans, but the bullets were to be fired not against China, but Pakistan. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the leader of Awami League, was sweeping the elections in Bengali-speaking East Pakistan, which was separated from the affluent West Pakistan by a huge Indian landmass. The Pakistani generals sensed the threat to their power from this emerging leader. They cracked down heavily on the people of East Pakistan, ensuing one of the worst crises in the Indian subcontinent by killing tens of thousands of innocent people. Millions of refugees poured into India. The tensions had already built between India and Pakistan, but neither had declared war. It was just a possibility.
Bangladesh mudik bani sachi. Bangladesh ranzen le ya thanda liya tan joma so jonte. Thara mo bo jonte. Ta te te yoma de ha ko America ha ko de America ke roran soma phatham. Ata Bangladesh te Pakistan do America ni shidak to pore ba. Te America gege America set up men nation kare na soma ke jara jon karchi ore sena nandu non chombiya de nandu de Russia tane ne inanda roran le yanda Russia tane.
Meanwhile, Rameshwar Nath Kao, a man largely credited for India's success in the 1971 war, met Champa Kalden and Sujan Singh Oban, expressing his wish that the Tibetans should fight for India against Pakistan.
Jana sab aap dono kuch baat hua hai isme? Haan, sab hua hai isme. Isko baad mein kya karega? Kya soch vichar kiya?
The Tibetans moved into Bangladesh in 3 columns as they were codenamed. North column under Ratu Nawang, Central column under Gyato Thundup, and South column under Pekar Tinlay. Each column had a Tibetan political leader and an Indian colonel. India declared war against Pakistan on December 3rd, 1971. By that time, the Tibetans had already caused enough damage to Pakistan's military stronghold in Chittagong, an important naval port base for Pakistani reinforcements.
Kini zasung jilia, Captain Jitoja with a time, 117, none like a choice. Captain the Gipustet, Malin, then the Tenson, then Bitaga, me, Sakan Yedi, Mendan diligent Jalkedi, such a certain children in the guts to you. What he did near Tripoli, damn the Mendan have a chance at General Mendo. And Lanja, Yalong Yola, Trinity Sham, Kulti, Lavai, Yamatake, Pop Baja Jepestat, Lavai, Yevatake, called Titi to me, Titi the Kotaji or reason, Taju reason, Pestot Caballo Santeri, Focus to Caballo Pena, Hapamaza, Pomofan Jen, Pomofan Dangate. Dangate, Pumo Pono to Pratosa, Pono to Namateva Yalong again, the table, sick the Praton, a Tetigen, you come on. That and I come back to Yama, didn't they? When I'm doing
Manjo Jaleva, Manjo Salasara, and you cook that's it, told me, and Tinder Kate one. Tinder Kate did Mamma Mangoshin so much of me.
Now to be on it, Zoba, Medellin. Tilmang Sogasere Sogasati Comare Kole that party Jebut Stairs LNG automotive.
The war ended on December 3rd, 1971, with the signing of the surrender instrument by General Niazi of Pakistan. 96,000 Pakistani troops surrendered. While India celebrated its biggest achievement in war, the Tibetans were forgotten. The Tibetans lost 52 men and 100 others were injured. Among the dead was Gyato Thundup, one of the 3 leaders commanding the war. The Indian officers of Special Frontier Force received gallantry awards, but none of the Tibetans were honored with medals. Instead, they were given cash prizes because theirs was a secret mission. Years later, Sujan Singh Oban wrote a book on the achievements of his men in the war, but his book did not indicate to the Special Frontier Force guerrillas being Tibetan refugees. The book refers to Champa Kalden, with whom the author worked throughout the war period, by his initials JK.
Nobody knows about it. Nobody wants to speak about it. If you ask any intelligence, Indian intelligence person, first of all, very few are still there who knew about it, but even those who knew will not say much.
I met him, Sujan. Sujan Singh comes to me. He said, KK, for old time's sake, I want a few radio sets from you. So I knew he was doing operations, but what? I had no idea. But he wouldn't tell me anything more. He said, I can't share it.
Another person who closely monitored the Special Frontier Force operations during the war and beyond as its civilian boss was Rameshwar Nath Kao, a man who by nature of his job as intelligence personnel would hardly talk about his job. J.F.R. Jacob, Chief of Staff, Eastern Command during the 1971 war, devotes a little over a sentence to the Special Frontier Force's participation in the war.
The SSF was a different kind of force. We couldn't work with them. A regular army works a different way. SFF are trained for commando, a different type of operations. So we couldn't integrate them into our plans. So therefore we give them an independent task. The role was very minor.
Jampa Kaldan, who led the Tibetans in the 1971 operations, does not think so. The Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi became personally fond of the Special Frontier Force after the war. A memorial is built in Chakrata for the soldiers who died in the 1971 war and other operations till date. Today, many Special Frontier Force veterans live in old people's home like this. The Special Frontier Force Commandant's office in Chakrata partly takes care of these forgotten people. These men, who once joined the Special Frontier Force to fight China, are today waiting to die, making noodles to raise money for their survival. Their biggest regret is that their dreams to die for Tibet did not materialize. They are forgotten both by the Indians and the Tibetans.
Sing a song for the people in curved arms, desperate for the taste of freedom, who only know how it sounds. Doesn't seem fair.